Hey guys, so I wanted to make a video, basically something that you can watch time and time again that in some way makes you feel better. Maybe in this you'll hear a mental health quote, you'll hear something that sticks to you. Maybe you'll hear something that you want to write down and read to yourself. Some things that need to be repeated day after day. If you're going to start working on your mental health and you're going to start working on this journey of feeling better and being better, these are quotes that you can put on a sticky note and put on your windows, your mirrors, your walls, your door, things you can look at often. Because having any type of mental health is like being scared and tired at the same time. You know, it's the fear of failure, but absolutely no urge to be productive. It's wanting friends but hating to socialize. It's wanting to be alone but not wanting to be lonely. It's caring about everything then caring about nothing. It's feeling everything at once then just feeling numb. You know, mental health isn't something to be won. It's a journey that you have to continue walking. And it doesn't look the same to everyone, and everyone has their own. And you have to remember to not be so hard on yourself because you're doing okay. Having a bad day is okay. Small, simple steps are progress. You know, you don't have to be perfect all the time. And asking for help is strength. You have to remember that you are more than this illness. And it's okay to rest. And not everything you think in your mind is true. Because you are enough. You are good enough. You're smart enough. You're strong enough. Beautiful enough. You are kind enough. Brave enough. And you'll always be enough. And your mental health is a priority. And no one can lessen that priority except you. And you know, sometimes the people around you, they won't understand what you're going through. And that's okay. They don't need to, because it's not their journey. It's not their road. And you need to know that your feelings are valid. You're not a burden if you're sad. You're not a burden if you're living with the constant anxiety. You're not a burden if you need a lot of reassurance. You need a lot of reassurance. And you're not a burden if you reach out for help. And I do say a lot that this is more of the silent, a very silent disease. And you know, in that way, you wouldn't pretend it didn't hurt if you stubbed your toe. Emotional pain is just as valid as physical pain. And you should never be ashamed of it. Because you're allowed to feel your feelings. You have to give yourself permission to handle yourself however you need to without feeling guilty. And it's okay to feel unstable. It's okay to disassociate yourself. It's okay to need help. It's okay to sometimes just not be okay. I can't stress enough how your mental is so important, and that it's not a failure. You have to know that you'll get through the hardest days. And that you have to forgive yourself for all the mistakes you think that you've made. And that's just the thing, is you think that you've made these mistakes, and yet you haven't. And, one of the worst parts about having a mental illness is that people expect you to behave a certain way. That you don't have this illness, that you don't have this way of being. And it's the worst part of it. Because one of the most exhausting things is having and fighting this mental illness, and on top of that is pretending like you don't. And something to think about too is maybe giving yourself a mental check-in and maybe seeing, how are you feeling today? Mentally, physically? What's taking up most of your headspace? And have you eaten lately? That might be something to think about too. Are you tired? And what is something, even if it's something little, that will bring you joy? And you have to be kind to your mind, because you're human. You're not a robot. You don't have to be a certain way all the time or feel a certain way all the time. You have to think that it's okay if you need pills to function, and it's okay to take the days one at a time. And there are things that you have to know, that you're worthy of love, capable of great things, allowed to express yourself just the way you are. You have to know that you're not alone in this fight with mental health. You're not alone in your depression. You're not alone in your mental illness. You have to know that there are people fighting right alongside you, whether they have what you have or not. Something that you can repeat to yourself is that this is not you. This is something moving through you, and it'll pass. Also, something to really instill in yourself is to do it for you. And it's kind of hard to do that, because you have to really feel and know that you're worthy. And if you don't feel that worth, then you see yourself living for other people. I do. I see myself living for my animals or for my husband. And sometimes even that gets a little hard. But to be patient and to keep reminding yourself that you are worthy makes it where you start doing it for you. And so these things that we're talking about right now, they're very real, and it's, you get exhausted when you're fighting mentally to keep going. It's very hard to keep yourself going when you're just exhausted. But you have to. You have to, again, tell yourself that you matter. And it's okay if the only thing you did today was breathe. That matters. It's all a back and forth game. This isn't something that heals and goes away. This is something you battle. Mental health is something you have for your life. This is something that you battle with constantly. And, again, it's okay if all you did today was survive. Don't worry about the shower that you probably did need but didn't take in 3 days. Don't worry about it. You're still alive. Sometimes we overlook the amount of good that we feel from just being alive. And from someone who really does struggle with suicidal depression and anxiety and bipolar disorder, it's so hard to think that you're worth it, or to think that you're valid, or to think that you matter and that there's a reason why you're here when you really feel like you don't. But you have to take care. You have to take medicine. You have to work for keeping yourself okay. And as much as it's okay to not have, or to have the bad days, it's just as important to realize that even though you're sitting in this bad day, don't let it get too far. And if it does get too far, look in your notebook, look in your Choose Happy book. Look into whatever you need to look into to just keep in mind that your mental health matters and that this is all a process. And you'll enjoy your life when you start finding time for the things that make you happy to be alive. And if you have to make more time in your day or choose certain things over other things to be able to get that mental health to where it needs to be, then you need to do it. Maybe it is, daily journaling, reducing negativity, focusing on self-care, letting go of expectations that you have of your day, and just living in the moment. And a part of the self-care is the rest. It's paying attention to your self-care, giving yourself what you need, making time for yourself. You have to work on you for you. And I think something that I had heard a while back was, don't be ashamed of your story. It'll inspire others. And I think at this point, this is what I'm trying to do, is put how I struggle with mental health out there. to inspire others to keep going, and hopefully keep it on track for myself of keep going. Because you have these mental health milestones, per se, of the first time you asked for help, the first time you forgave yourself, set a boundary, tried a new medicine, first time you told someone about your mental illness. These are all huge milestones, and they help keep it in yourself that you're okay. You're doing just fine. Something to think about is self-soothing yourself. It's a way to reduce negative emotions with your different senses. So, first, would be sight. Low lighting, soothing colors, coloring books. I know for me, I definitely love being in the dark. But I also do know that sometimes being in the dark makes other things dark. But definitely having a little nightlight and stuff like that, just to kind of give the room some type of depth. Because you can, feel what you want to feel. You talk about maybe touch. So soft things. Hot or cold showers. A heated, weighted blanket. Massage. Things like that. When I think of touch, I think of, one, I have my fuzzy blankies. And even though, I do get super cold and sometimes maybe it's super hot, I will always have my fuzzy blankie on me first. And then I'll have whatever blankets on top of that, which do sometimes include a weighted blanket. I'm always taking hot showers. And my dogs and my cats are absolutely my life. They love me even when I don't love myself. And I love to cuddle with them because it's very, very calming. It is a self-soothing thing for me. To look at maybe sounds. A lot of people like nature sounds or guided meditations, calming noises. I like stories, which leads me to my Calm app of every night listening to Calm app. Smells, you look at aromatherapies, fresh air, candles. I don't know personally if I look at smell so much at it doing something, or calming me down. I know that my husband, he loves his aromatherapies from Bath and Body Works, the mint, eucalyptus. He loves that. He'll use that when he showers and everything, and that's something for him. So I know smell is one of his self-soothing tactics. Something too would be taste, strong flavors, warm drinks. I know for me, I love hot apple cider. Doesn't matter what time of year it is, summer, whatnot. Hot apple cider is just so tingly and just warm. I love it. So self-soothing, is something to keep in mind for when you are having a pretty big struggle. So all of these things that we've talked about, or that you've heard, are things that you probably need to hear a lot. And it's okay to listen to this over and over. It's okay to write it down and think about, what you want to hear every day. Maybe it's something that I didn't have on here. And write it in the comments. Write what you're wanting to hear every day. Say it to yourself. Have compassion with yourself, Have have that love for yourself. And just know that you're worth it in any part of this. You know, because we are more than the stereotypes. Depression is more than being sad. Anxiety is more than worrying. OCD is more than being tidy. PTSD is more than having just flashbacks. Bipolar is more than mood swings. Schizophrenia is more than seeing things. Borderline is more than instability. And addiction is not just a choice. You're enough. You know, you're fighting enough with yourself. So at this point, do what you need to do to make yourself feel worthy. And I think with that, it's a good place to stop, to end it. And I want everyone to just take away from this video that you are worth it.